Lavender Wreath. All of these items came from the Dollar Tree. The first thing you'll want to do is take your needle nose pliers and clip away the inner heart. Be very careful, you know the wire is sharp. Now once you remove this inner heart, the excess wire that I'm clipping away there, you'll also want to remove it. Now it took me approximately 3 of the lavender bundles to do the outer wreath. You'll take 1 piece of 3-inch floral wire, wrap that around that bundle so that it stays intact. Then starting at the upper left-hand corner of your heart, use more floral wire and tie it into place. And you'll work from the left down to the point, and then you'll go back and tie your bundles on from the right down to the point. You can adjust them once you get them all tied into place. Now it took me approximately 3 of the lavender bundles for the outer heart. Now I'm taking zip ties and I'm zip tying the smaller heart to the lower right hand area. This way you'll get that double heart. It took 4 zip ties, and then I just clipped away the difference. I then took 1.5 bundles approximately of the white lavender, and I literally took them and just wrapped their stem around the heart. Once again, start at the left arch, work to the point, and then go back up and tie your florals from the right down to the point. And this will just give that cascade effect. And those I placed one at a time. Isn't it gorgeous? This thing turned out so beautiful. I am so pleased. I then took the sheer ribbon from Dollar Tree and I just tied a bow. Now once I got that adjusted the size that I wanted, I clipped that sheer, put the bow up there, and I actually used the tails of my bow and tied it into place. And then of course I just needed a small hanger. So using the same sheer ribbon, I tied me a small hanger in the middle of the arch at the top. This is so lovely. I am just so pleased with this wreath. You'll be able to use this on into the spring all year round. Project. Using the little banks from Dollar Tree, you can remove the back. It just has a small little clip. And then I took a scraper and I scraped away the lettering. Some people use acetone, but for me this was easier. I then took a cotton ball and just wiped it away clean. I then took the pink burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, cut it in half. The first half I attached to the outer area of the box with my hot glue gun. The second piece, the second half of this same burlap, I removed the wire from the edge. Then I frayed it out. This will give me a tattered bow. So taking that ribbon, I double looped it around and just kind of tied the tail to the bow itself. This gave me kind of a double hooped bow, and I just glued the difference to the back and cut off any of the fray that I didn't want hanging off. I then glued that to the top of the bank, leaving the opening so you can still put money in it. I took a package of the Hershey's Kisses and regular Elmer's glue to glue down the back end. The letters from the Target dollar spot, glued those into place and added the kisses. It's time for our third project. Using one of the Dollar Tree frames, I removed the things that I had in it from Thanksgiving. Took some buffalo check fabric and glued it to the frame back. Just used regular Elmer's glue on this project. Once I attached the buffalo check fabric and trimmed it down to fit, I then decided I wanted some burlap. I cut the size that I wanted just within the inner perimeter of the buffalo check, frayed the edges to give it that primitive, old-fashioned farmhouse look, and I glued it to the buffalo check fabric. I then decided to also use the same Scrabble letters from the Target dollar spot, and Forever Yours is what I could think of. And I took hot glue gun and glued those letters into place. I really liked the way all these projects turned out, and I basically placed it back into the frame, put the back on without any of the fillers. Voila! And here we are, Forever Yours. So these are the supplies that I'm going to be using. I have this wreath that I had gotten from Dollar Tree, and honestly, I didn't know what to do with it, but I believe we can make us a heart-shaped form out of this. Starting with our wreath, the first thing we want to do is untwist tie the bow. I do keep all of this stuff for future DIY. And the next thing is up here, you can actually see on this one where the beginning is. It has these metal tangs, but this particular garland that they have wrapped on here is actually just twisted on the wreath. You can clip it, and then you'll be able to just unwrap this. Have your needle nose pliers, you'll probably need it in this area because the wire they have this twisted on with is really tiny. So just stay at it and get this unwound and remove it from your wire. Here we have our wreath wire. This is actually made out of aluminum versus steel, and that is why I'm using it, because it's very bendable and shapeable, and it's just easy to work with. I don't even know what gauge it is, but I do know it's like an aluminum. Go directly down to the center of that circle, and we just basically want to pull. I'm going to kind of form the bottom of our heart, as you can see right there. Now going back up to the top, take your hand and bring it downward and just kind of bring it towards the other hand like that. If you go too far, it's okay, because guess what? You can bend it back. You can work on it more as we get these shaped. Now we're going to do the other side the very same way. It's just kind of a pull and stretch. If you want your heart, you know, more, you have to shape your heart the way that you want it shaped. And this piece, I'm going to turn it to where it is not coming inward. I want it to come upward towards that center point. I can go ahead and tie my floral wire around that point. Took and cut just a piece that just big enough to wrap around this, and you'll do the same. And just, you don't have to be like, this doesn't have to be a ton of floral wire, but you do need enough to kind of wrap to where it will hold its integrity. And so now that we've got our heart form, and you do want those wires beside each other, you don't want them, you know, like laying on top of the other. The wire mesh that I have from the wastebasket is not nearly big enough. I just don't have enough left over from a previous project, and that is why I'm using the chicken wire. Now, there is no right way or wrong way to wrap your wire around your form. This is just a front face type tussie that we're making, because we'll be covering this in moss. And basically what I do is I always start at my largest points, my furthest distance from my wire, and I bring that wire up to it, and I just kind of hold that position and wrap that, because I compress these tighter as I get around my form. Hands to kind of do that the best you know how, and just be careful doing it. So basically on your burlap, do not worry about the extra that's over it. You do want it to overlap, and just kind of do you a rough cut of your burlap. What you want to do is take and cut you a slit there. You want to kind of leave that slit at least a 1/2 inch away from your actual parting, because when you begin, like I said, to wrap that over like that, it's going to separate. That's why if you've got a lot of difference, it's really okay, because you're going to lap that under there. It's going to give you cushion. It's going to protect your surface and back area from any of the wires poking through or scruffing up anything. What really makes the heart apparent is the arch. And so I will start up there first. That way, if I need to slide down any extra to get that insurance that those are going to come over properly and buckle down, then I will have that extra to do it with. You can and get your heart wrapped. If you've gotten your burlap wrapped around your heart and you've got it glued, we've got our reindeer and floral moss on there, or if you chose to just use one over the other or combine them like I did, and now you've got your heart covered. Also, Dollar Tree came out with a new product they've been carrying, this adhesive spray, and this works really good about this, and it dries clear, and you can directly start placing things onto this if you desire. And so basically you would just lightly mist it, and it is an adhesive, but like I said, it does dry clear, and it will keep everything in place and keep your greenery from sprinkling and getting everywhere. And I just put a few shots on there. You can do as little or as much as you want. So I run ribbon running this way, and now I believe I'll do it something like almost like a basket weave. And just what I want to do is run it under this one, over that one, under this one, over this one, and under this one, and then glue it down. And that'll give it just a little more interest. So I've got my ribbon glued on there, and you could use some colored ribbon or about anything. Is that not adorable? Oh my goodness. It is just what lace does to something. Oh, amazing. Look. White chalk paint. You can use any white paint that you like, just as long as you achieve the color white. And I'm doing one coat on the outer and inner perimeters there, just because of the reveal. Using the Waverly clear wax, I go ahead and I put a coat on both sides to seal in and make it dustable and wipeable and smooth and slick. Additionally, on the ice cream sticks, so it has two coats on it. So while our love signs are drying, or our love letters are drying, we can cut away our mesh from our wire basket. I mean, right through there with your scissors, and just cut it away. When you're looking at your wire mesh, you will see where it's doubled, the way that the factory fused it together. So just pick one side or the other where it is the thinner part, and just cut that away from it. I just go right up that seam. Now that we've got our mesh cut apart, we need to cut this directly in half. We need a 4.5 inch both sides. So just try to measure it as best you can and cut right down through the center. Once you've cut your wire in half, make sure you pull it just like that, and it'll stretch right out for you. It's just the coolest thing you ever seen. Now that we have our wire mesh cut out and stretched, simply fold it in half and cut it. We will be using the difference at the top and the bottom, so we just need that one single strip, and then cut that apart. Taking your wire mesh, once you've folded it and cut it in half, and laying it against your word, anything that's above it and anything that's below, mark it with a marker. We'll eventually bend that down, but we want to attach our ice cream sticks first. Lay your ice cream sticks across the wire just so you know how many you will need, and mark the extra one with a pencil. This is where you'll cut off the extra. You'll do that for both sides. Now it's time to glue our ice cream sticks to our wire. So basically we're sandwiching our wire in between our ice cream sticks. And the reason why we want to do that is it will make it thicker, so that this will be able to glue the word to the inside And I'll just go back and paint that before I attach it to my word. Okay, so now that we've got our sticks on there, the bottom part we want to go ahead and bend it over top, and then you can do the top as well. And therefore we bent the bottom inward and the overage at the top down. But that will give it strength and some reinforcement and durability, so that when you're moving your box around, your planter box around, it'll have more strength. Okay guys, so when you put these together, if you find that one is a little bit wider than the other, you're going to love this. And just take your fingers, or you can use your needle nose pliers, and just squeeze it together where it seems a little wider. And that will take up the difference. And then that way you can get them closer together so that they're close to, both of these are the same size, so that when you go to put them together with your words, everything will match up. And if you find that this one could use spreading, then it works just the same way. Just go in there and pull on it and get it to broaden out a little bit better. Time to glue our pieces together. So the best way is to lay this down and then begin gluing. Be generous with the glue, simply so that it will seep in between the two sticks. And one side of the wire mesh is narrow and one side is wider, even though you made your adjustments. So what I do is I simply turn it the opposite, and then that way they will still be even Steven whenever you go to put them onto your word. Now that we've got our box glued together, and it is looking fantastic. So now we're going to put greenery around our heart. Now we've got our greenery around our heart. And if you need to, you can take a pair of scissors and just kind of give it a trim, a little haircut, so it lays more smooth and even, and it's balanced. That way you can distinctly see the heart. Additionally, if Dollar Tree is now carrying this spray adhesive, it is wonderful for making sure that your foliage, when it's loose like this, will stay intact. It'll stay fresh looking. It'll protect it for a long period of time and keep it really, really green. It dries clear, and it has no tack once it's dried. And that'll help hold everything in place, and you won't have to use hairspray. We have our beautiful box made, and you can use this two different ways. You can use it vertical like this, or you can use it horizontal. It really depends on you and what you want to do. I made it this way so that I can use it both ways. But at this time, I want to create me a liner to go inside of this box. That way I can line it, I can wash it, and at the same time it will hold my arrangement. So at this time I'm going to tell you that I'm just going to set this up because I'm going to use mine vertical. As I said before, if you want to use it horizontal, then of course you can put them straight in here, or you can put you a bin inside here and use it that way. If you don't wish to make a liner, you can fast forward through this video, or if you want to use one of the plastics vases that they have at Dollar Tree, or any vase, that'd be great too. You could set that in there and put your dry arrangement in it. Now to make a liner, you're going to need to cut you a piece that is 24 inches by 17 inches. You'll place the right sides together and use your glue gun to glue it together. You'll do the bottom edge the same way. This will give you plenty of seam allowance as well. Your right sides together, and since my seam is a little off right here, I'm going to do it just this way. And you'll just glue it the same as you did the other. Hope you guys can make out what I'm doing here. Now remember, this will have dry arrangements in it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to close that seam up just so it'll have a bottom in it. So that way if you pick it up and transport it from one room to the next, none of your flowers are falling down the bottom side. And then some of you may have decided to put a bottom in your planter, and that's fine too. Either way will work just great. I just want to line my box. Now, a trick in the sewing world, these are to gusset your bottom. If you want to square this and gusset it, what you do is, this is the bottom, this is the short side, and you will basically take that end to where it's pointed and press your point down. So just make sure whichever way you want to go that your seams are running the same way, because if you don't, it'll just get all kinds of wonky. And what you'll do is you'll take your ruler, and generally you measure in around 1.5 inches. So basically from that point, you can go in 2 inches. So whichever way you make that point go to gusset your bottom, just take the point and put your ruler there and measure over by 2 inches. And then you'll just mark that so that you know where you're going to be cutting. And then once I mark it, I basically draw me a straight line all the way across. Now, guys, don't shortcut this. You want it all the way across. And what you'll do is you'll actually, because we're gluing this together and we're not sewing it together, otherwise you would actually sew this right through there, then you would cut it. But being that we are using glue, we're going to have to run in the opposite direction. So that means we're going to cut it first, and then we're going to glue it together there. And this will make you a square bottom. So basically put your glue there where we just cut, put them back together, and then you'll do the other side the very same way. And now that our bag is cooled off, we can turn it inside out. That way the right side is back outside. And voila, we have our gusseted bottom. How you guys like that? Squares it up. And then that way, you have your square bottom bag to go inside of your box. And the good thing is every bit of this can be repurposed, or you can do something else. And that's probably enough jute twine to suit me. See how gorgeous that looks? Isn't that fabulous? That is just fantastic. And everything turned out just beautiful. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. And remember that the full tutorial to each one of these videos can be found in the description box, as well as in the iCard above each of the projects. Till the next DIY, I'll be crafting, y'all.